Hello, Central New York, and hello, hockey fans all across the internet, and welcome to the Central New York Hockey Report podcast, right here on the Studio 25 Podcast Network. I'm your host, Scott Kinville, and you know what, guys? It's tournament time. It is tournament time. Can't wait. The best time of the year, college hockey tournament time, and of course, we've got three teams in here, the Division III champion or the Division III tournaments. Coming up this weekend. So we are here to talk about that today because it's been a while since we've just done a show of just us. And by us, I do mean, of course, my faithful crew here. So first of all, I'll bring in, sitting right to my immediate right, over there looking just as happy as usual, pressing his buttons, thinking of devious ways to interject some more joy into the show, Dave the Save Border. How are you?
I can do that.
I know. I've seen it. That's so scary.
Yeah. I hear you.
And back with us is the one, the only Mr. Jordan Brockway. Jordan, I see you got your technical issues worked out. I love Tom Wilson going across the screen. It's like you never.
I knew that was coming completely.
He knew it.
It's about the little things, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But no, we're glad to see you back. We're glad to see that you got it all figured out. But, you know, Dave and I were talking, and we got to tell you that you are going to be the subject of a drinking game if you start having problems again. So what we're going to do, for everybody watching, if Jordan's video goes out and we lose Jordan, it's a drink. So I know the last time you were on, you wouldn't have made it halfway through the show without being on the floor if we did that. So,
Yep.
We actually were.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So now that we're done picking on Jordan, welcome back, by the way. Before we get going, I want to mention that, you know what, guys, big news here. We are one of the sponsors of the D3 Hockey News Broadcaster Tournament for this year. Yes, indeed. A very popular tournament, by the way. Our friend Chris Sugar over at D3 Hockey News started this a few years ago, and it's growing more and more. I told you, devious ways to add to the show. So there it is the D3 Hockey News 2025 broadcaster bracket. If you'll notice, we are down in the bottom right corner. If you can see this, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, well, I'm just going to tell you, we're in the bottom right corner. Noticeably by his absence, Utica's Ray Biggs is not on there. Biggsy won it last year, won the whole shebang. And, you know, he was telling Chris, he says, you know what? He goes, I won it last year. I'm going to bow out this year. It's my choice. I want somebody else to win it, have a shot. So, you know, Ray, good on you. He's, you know.
So he thought he was locked in? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he just, you know, he said, no, he goes, listen, I had my turn of glory. It was somebody else's turn. But fret not, Central New York hockey fans, because we have two broadcasters in our bracket, by the way. I had to make sure that Chris put our sponsorship in our area.
Yeah.
So we got Gene Conte from Hamilton and Kenny Gerard from Oswego. So I'll tell you what, the voting for this begins on Monday, March 3rd. If you have an X account, go to @D3 Hockey News, and you will have the voting up there. Make sure you vote for our guys, for Hamilton and Oswego, because you know what? Central New York won it last year, and darn it, we want to see Central New York win again this year. And I believe he's also going to have something up on the website, d3hockeynews.com. So, like I said, exciting news.
Exciting.
This is cool. We're a sponsor now. We're the big time.
And now we're sponsoring a restaurant week here in Little Falls.
We are?
On the 10th. Yeah. You didn't know that?
No. It's because it was your money that you're spending, not mine. I couldn't care less.
Does that count?
So it's not spending my money. I don't care.
All right.
But anyways, what we want to talk about today is, like I said, we got three teams here in Central New York in Division III hockey conference tournaments this year. And exciting times, really exciting times. We got Utica, Hamilton, and Oswego. This is going to be the men's side that we're talking about today. So, you know, Jordy, you're a Utica Pioneers super fan. You're at every single game. So we're going to lead off with those Pioneers. Now, I know, like I said, you've been watching this team all season long. You've seen just about everything that there is to know about Utica. So I'll just lead it off by saying they're the number one seed in the UCHC tournament. It's been an exciting season, too, with the addition of Geneseo and Brockport. Let's see. They are 23-2 overall, 16-2-2 in the UCHC. Sorry,
USC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyways, so they're semifinals this Saturday night at the Adirondack Bank Center. They're hosting the fourth-seeded Chatham Cougars. So, what's your thought on this tournament?
So, coming into the tournament now, Saturday night, I'm in Oswego watching the Oswego Cortland game.
Mm-hmm.
Geneseo's playing. I didn't know till midway through, Geneseo's down. Geneseo apparently collapsed early and opened up Utica to get the 1 seed. I text around, we're all freaking out. Now you come in, the first round has been played, Utica knows who they're playing, and the tournament basically runs through Utica. Looking at the team and looking at how they've been playing progressively, they kept up with Geneseo, they kept up with a Manhattanville who's better than their record looks. You're playing a team who you know in Chatham, and you're probably going to see Geneseo if you can win Saturday. You can run this tournament if you're Utica, and your fate is in your hands because you've shown you can beat everybody here, even if they keep you close every game.
Well, you know what? That's huge, getting home ice advantage. And with Geneseo losing Saturday night against Naz, that was a major, major break for the Pioneers. Because I do believe if Geneseo had won that game, they were going on the road if they got to the championship game, correct? At Geneseo, of course.
Yes.
All right. So now you got the Chatham Cougars coming to town. And this is not as easy as a game as it might seem. You know, I mean, I know fans around here, you saw Chatham's coming to town. Oh, they should, do very well against them. But you know what? I mean, the Pioneers were 3-0-1 against them this season. Just a couple weekends ago, they were down there in Pittsburgh, and Chatham gave them everything that they wanted. They tied, actually. I think it was the second game, was it, or the first? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. It was the first game. Friday night down in Chatham. And then, of course, the Cougars won the shootout. So what do we think here? I mean, obviously, Utica's heavily favored. But you know what? Chatham, like I said, gave them everything they had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and this conference itself has gotten so much better over the past couple of years. A lot of these teams 3 years ago wouldn't have been able to run with a Utica or a Geneseo at the time, and now they can keep up, which if you're Utica is a little scary. But I think if Utica can play their game, which it didn't seem like they were against Chatham at times, if they can play their game and do everything the way they normally do, it's their game to lose. But at the same time, they've had some very bad games where very good goaltending from a Puros or a Lanzi or whoever's in net at that time has bailed them out. So they need to hope if they're playing bad that they still can be bailed out, or they need to show up and show out and run through guys like Malera and Brolt who have been running this offense and get it done.
Yeah, and the UCHC, of course, a little bit different of a look this year. It was a bit of an addition by subtraction. You lost some teams, but you picked up Geneseo and Brockport. So in the process, every team had to play each other 4 times within the conference. So I think that added a whole new dynamic to it as far as not just building up the rivalry, but, you get to see these teams more often. You get to know them a little bit better. So we'll see how that affects things going into the tournament as well.
Yeah, and Chatham's always been very sneaky too, and so is everyone that's still around is sneaky, but
he's
Chatham
right.
especially.
They're a very good defensive team.
Yeah, there's nights where when they have it on, they're scary.
Well, and they should have some confidence after that last game.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Because, I'm looking at it right now. Utica rebounded Saturday. It was February 7th and February 8th they were down there. So Utica rebounded very well the next night. They won 6-2. But again, if you're Chatham, you're going into the Adirondack Bank Center Saturday night going, you know what? We hung with these guys a couple weeks ago. And I'm sure Coach Heenan's going to remind them of that too all week long, saying, you guys, this is not going to be an easy game,
Oh, yeah. Hearing some of the things Coach Heenan says, I guarantee you bulletin board material was that Chatham game ever since.
Oh, yes. And, the Pioneers actually went through some changes right in the middle of the season, too. Mm-hmm. You had some guys leave. You had some guys come in. So tell us a little bit about the newcomers.
So the newcomers have been Ryan Puros in net. He comes over. He has an 0-11 record, but he's putting up this amazing save percentage that's just above a 9 flat. Everyone looks at him and goes, oh, he went 0-11, played at a university that hadn't won a game at that point. What's he going to be? He shows up, and he's the next coming of Gianluca Baghetta. And he has more shutouts than anybody on the team. He's lighting it up with Landsberger hurt, which has opened the door for him a little. And he's been carrying the Pioneers at times. After that, you have the forward duo of Tio Diodario and Colin Patterson, who both of them come over. Nobody really knows what to expect. Diodario kind of slotted in with Wood and Murph, at times Wood and Gut, or Murph and Gut, which that line is a little weird to break up, but Diodario has slotted in very well. He's finding a rhythm even if he's not on the score sheet. Patterson, he's hovering a little more in the background. He'll score here and there. He doesn't jump off the stat sheet, but on the ice, he looks like a good, solid system player. And then finally, you have Colby Jaquette, who he's not the biggest addition. He was kind of a late addition, but he's producing in his own way. I mean, he's split time with Reed Oliver as the sixth defenseman, so you're not going to see a lot. So that may have partially been just hey, we need depth defenseman now, rather than it's pure talent. But knowing Coach Heenan, he wouldn't go get him if he didn't believe in him, just like the rest of these guys.
Right. Yeah, there's certainly something to be said for that. Absolutely. And especially, like I said, which is unusual to have that much turnover in the middle of the season, but it did happen. But of course, obviously the Pioneers really didn't miss much of a beat with all that turmoil happening. But I will say this, I feel so bad for Brian Landsberger getting hurt when he did, because it was what a heck of a story it was. I know he comes in, and did so well and leading the Pioneers to the Thanksgiving showcase, the Thanksgiving showcase victory. And then he gets hurt, and thank goodness Ryan Piros came in and did what he did. Yeah. And you hate to see any player in a senior season have that happen. Landsberger, especially, because he's loved by everybody. Right. I know people that are at every game that absolutely love the kid. And he finally was on scratch last game, and he was skating, and you can still see he's a little gingerly on the ice. He wasn't skating like a normal him. So even though he's not scratched, he's probably not going to be there until D3 tournament if he's healthy this season. Yeah. And I mean, just to talk about a team first player, I mean, here was a guy really, when Ethan Roberts came in and took the starting job, he could have just said, you know what, then I'm going to transfer out. I'm going to go someplace else. And he didn't. He stuck with the team. And like I said, he was the hero. He turned it all around, and then this happened. But hopefully, like you said, he's skating again. So, hopefully at some point, maybe you can see, I don't know. But like I said, good on Landy, at least getting back on the ice. So before we move on to our next team, what Pioneers should we be watching out for Saturday night? It all depends on the situations they get in, but for me, it's always Johnny Malera, especially on the power play, because his 8 power play goals, I think, are tied 3rd in the nation for any player. And he knows usually how to light it up, especially on the line he's on with Brolt and Morris. Usually he'll light it up. And especially since the break, he's come into his own. So he is always a guy to watch, because you never know what he's going to do. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for that, for sure. For me, it's Drake Morse. I think that a guy like him is going to have a big game at one of these. Be it Saturday night, or if they advance to the championship next Saturday. I think you can look out for Drake Morse. Okay, so that'll be enough with the Pioneers. And by the way, for those of you who are watching and listening and are waiting to take a drink, Jordy's letting you down so far. His technology is holding up. I don't want to curse it or anything, but feel free to take one if you want. I mean, I'm not going to stop you. But anyways, let's move on. Let's go to the Hamilton College Continentals. The Continentals they're having a heck of a season too. They're 11-12 ranked nationally. By the way, by that I mean USCHO and D3 Hockey News. They are 17-6-1 overall. They are 13-4-1. In the NESCAC. They are the number 1 seed in this year's NESCAC tournament. This Saturday, they host number 8 Connecticut College. So, Jordy, a little bit about Hamilton College. Yeah, Hamilton College has been a team that they've had a loss here and there. It's a little more expected for them to lose a game here and lose a game there than Utica. But they're still a very good team. Watching them overall, they've been very talented, even if they've had that occasional moment where they may drop out of the rankings or drop low compared to where they normally are. This season, they've shown up, and obviously it's shown with the seeding spot that they've earned. And that tournament runs through Hamilton, because it's like Utica. It's theirs to win and theirs to lose, and only theirs. Right. And that's what the exciting part is around here. I mean, here you are in Central New York. You got 2 number 1 seeds. So UCHC is going to go through Utica. The NESCAC's going to go through Hamilton. I mean, this is just exciting times.
Yeah, especially with also Oswego State being a 2 in their conference. You have all these local teams playing excellent hockey.
Yeah.
And that's great for the area.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. And but with Hamilton, I have to say I'm very, very impressed with what they've done, because before the season started, everybody was, they should be middle of the road NESCAC, kind of deal. They came flying out of the gates, and for the most part, they maintained it all season long. People forget they had one of the top recruiting classes last season in all of Division III, and it's really starting to develop now. You can see it on the ice. Luke Chor has been awesome as he was last season. Up and down the line, Charlie Archer in net has been absolutely phenomenal. So the players you want to look out for on Hamilton.
On that one, I don't necessarily have a player as much as I just have the whole team with how young it is being something to watch out for, because they remind me a lot of last season's Utica Pioneers team of they're so young and they have no expectation that they can take everything and then some because nobody expects them to. And using that as a motivation for that team, which is probably what they're doing, I can see that whole team itself being a thing to watch out for, because over sports, a lot of teams have showed when you break that small expectation, you take it to the moon. Nobody can stop you at that point because you say, who's next?
Right.
We've already accomplished what everyone said we would. Let's take it a step further. Let's shock them a little more.
Well, I already mentioned one in Charlie Archer, and that's, what, if you're going to go far in a tournament and even into the D3 playoffs, you got to have strong goaltending, right? And Charlie Archer is 13-3-1. He's got 4 shutouts this season, Jordy. Let's see. He's got a .940 save percentage. His goals against average is 1.41. So if you want to talk about lights out goaltending that you need to advance, I think it starts and ends right there. Yeah.
And I mean, we've said it before about playoffs, especially once you get to the D3 tournament. Hot goalie will kill any team with heavy momentum, especially since, like, if you're a Utica fan, you saw it with UNE. Hot goaltender will burn you 9 times out of 10. And it's a weird but magical thing.
That's a great way to put it.
Weird but magical. Yeah, I like that.
You got Dave laughing over there. That was. But here's the thing too with this Hamilton team. This year they can score. They got some scoring. Like I said, Luke Chor has been amazing. 15 goals, 16 assists for 31 points. Jackson Kroc has stepped up too. He's got 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points. That's second on the team. And now, of course, you got points coming from the blue line as well. And Nick Kent, who's got 18 assists on the season. So really a little bit of everything from this Hamilton College team.
Yeah, and when you're a balanced team like that, especially since you can build it from the ground up, having a very young team, you can go pretty much anywhere. Because once you have one of those young teams and you build it your way, you can just sit there and let it develop. And it occasionally may burn you, but normally it'll take you places you never thought were possible, because when you're so good, so young, there's a lot of places you can go, and up is usually one of them.
Yeah, and that's just it. And like you said, I think, coming into this season, I don't know. I think I had a little bit higher expectations for Hamilton coming in, just because I knew that there was that much talent on that team. And they didn't just take the next step this season. They took the leap this season for sure. So this Saturday is the quarterfinals. Next Saturday is the semifinals. And then, of course, the final is the next day on March 9th. So, if they win this Saturday, there could be a lot of hockey going on up at Hamilton next weekend. Trinity's number 2, and that's been their big rival in this conference this season. They've both split their games because with the NESCAC, they play each other twice. Mm-hmm. So, obviously you don't want to look too far ahead, and I am not saying it. I'm not, because I got myself in trouble a few weeks ago for that.
Yeah, you did.
I certainly did. So I like to think that I've learned my lesson. Probably not, but I'd like to think that I did. But like I said, could be some great hockey coming up at St. Drink up in Clinton. So, best of luck to the Continentals. And with that, I think we're going to take a commercial break, because you know what, Jordy? Dave the Save made a new commercial, and he's been dying to put it in the show. So I'm going to give him that opportunity, and we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Visit the Daily Post and stay connected with the latest news information and events in the Mohawk Valley. Our mission is to generate interest in the area and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of the Mohawk Valley. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, our event calendar, and print publication. The Mohawk Valley Express. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of locals and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes Store, listen to our podcasts, or sign up for our weekly email newsletter. Stop by today at thedailypost.digital. You'll be glad you did.
Yeah, the Daily Post.digital. We've expanded our sports coverage. It's more than hockey now. It's a really good thing. Good thing he kept that music, because, like I told you, that music always makes me want to run through the wall.
I had to keep it. I just had
yeah, because I want to play it.
Yeah.
I would have no, we're not doing commercials. That's it. But I got to say, I do. You know what? I think you got to talk Deb into doing that voiceover again.
I will. I'll
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, it's just missing something, and that's what it is.
But there's a higher price when you ask the mayor to do a voiceover as opposed to just,
Yeah, but you're married to her.
There's a higher price. I got news for you.
Just tell her you want her for Valentine's Day or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What to get for the Dave the Save who's got everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so all right, so we're gonna finish up our little men's championship or men's tournament preview here with the Oswego State Lakers, number 2 seed in the SUNYAC. They are 14-8-3 overall, 9-4-1 in the SUNYAC. So this Saturday they host the 3 seed Buffalo State Bengals. That's up there at the Deb at 7:00. Jordy, some thoughts on Oswego State?
So obviously I was down there last weekend, and caught the game that was postponed like 4 times. That was Cortland Oswego, which worked out for me because I got to go see it. But
is that the first time you've been up there?
Yeah, that's the first time I've been up there.
It's an awesome atmosphere. It really is.
It is. Yeah, my friend brought me into the student section, and I couldn't thank them enough because that was perfect experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful arena up there. It's a really nice setup.
And we forget how spoiled we are in Utica, but that's still it's still a great rink.
Yeah, right there on campus. It's a beautiful setup. But anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. So watching them, and I've looked into a little bit of stats because I do sometimes at the end of the season look through, who's got this for D3, that. Oswego is one of the best power plays in D3. And I didn't realize that till I was looking for Utica, who's like 4th. And I go, wait, Oswego's 1st now? Which I kind of didn't expect from them. But it makes sense after watching their power play against Cortland, which if they got very unlucky, one little bounce, and it's a 2-2 game, plus the disallowed goal. It's a win against a top 15 Cortland. So
right. 33.7%, by the way.
Yep.
That power play.
They're a team.
When you're scoring a third of the time you're on the power play, you're doing pretty good.
You're doing very good. They're a team that can stick it out with those top teams. And though they're playing Buffalo State, who they've lost to twice, once in their home arena, both of them very close games, I think they can probably win, especially coming off of a Cortland game that you probably wanted to win if you're Oswego State. And they didn't get it going till midway through the second. If they had got it going earlier, I think they could have beat them. Like, that team at its best when they can set up is like Utica. They can beat almost anybody.
I think this is going to be a very dangerous Oswego State Lakers team going forward, because we had Daniel Calabufo on a couple weeks ago, and we were talking that this team has, I think, 16 or 17 first-year players. This is an outstanding job that the coaching staff has done up there with that many young players to be able to put together this season that they have. And you're looking at the stat sheet. Well, let's see. Their top 2 scorers are rookies. Ryan Burke's got 9 goals and 26 assists. Brandon Cohen's got 16 goals and 14 assists. So you got 2 freshmen that are 30-plus points each, right? And again, with this kind of experience that these kids are getting already, I see nothing but good things on the horizon for the Lakers.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Hamilton, where when you have some of these young players step up and perform, you can go very far, especially since they're already competing with Cortland very closely. They're competing with a Buffalo State. If they play the right game and they can play their game against these teams, they can win this tournament. It's just about, can you beat Buffalo State in your home rink, and can you beat them for the first time this season? And then you have to think about, okay, can we go beat Cortland, who is probably going to be there at the end?
So yeah, because the other matchup is Cortland and Plattsburgh. So if they win Saturday, they're going to be facing a big rival either way.
Yeah. And I mean, Plattsburgh's had a slightly down year this year, which
they have.
I was shocked that they were that down. So that's the only reason I say Cortland, because any other year that's a shootout. But
sure.
Plattsburgh could get it. I'm not saying they won't, but it favors Cortland very heavily. So if Oswego State can get past Buffalo State with some of these younger guys leading them, which they've already got very good goaltending, you saw it against Cortland and some of these other teams, they can win it.
They can. And you know what? I will say this too, that we talked about goaltending all show long, right? How important it was in Utica, how important it was in Hamilton. Oswego got their goaltending solidified this year too by Brendan Milberg, who's 13-6-2. He's got 3 shutouts this season. He's got a goals against average of 2.24, and he's got a .905 save percentage, which, if there was, I guess, one thing that, Oswego kind of had a few defensive lapses at times this season, but you expect that with a young team like this, still learning the system and all that. But I'll tell you something, we got to see Brandon a couple times this year already. He is really one of those guys that steps up, and he can steal a game for you at any time.
Yeah, when they came in for the Thanksgiving tournament, I made sure to watch both their games because they're a local and everything. And Milberg, I said it when I covered the series of them coming in for the tournament, I mentioned him. And then when Oswego played Utica, I made sure to highlight him and highlight him big, because up to that point, he was on a 2.5 game shutout streak. And he is the only reason the Pioneers didn't win by more, potentially, because he stood on his head for a period and a half. When the dam started leaking, it burst open, but a lot of teams do that against Utica, and it's not necessarily Milberg's fault. And especially coming in the last couple of weeks and keeping an eye on some of his stats, he's playing such good hockey. He reminds me of Piros in the sense that he can stand on his head at any time, and you can't do anything about it.
Exactly. And I will say that the Lakers will be looking for a little measure of revenge this Saturday, because not only is it a chance to go to the championship game on the line, Buffalo State's already won both of the regular season games. So you know what? There's that old adage in sports. It's very, very difficult to beat the same team 3 times in one season, especially in hockey. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a fantastic game up there.
Oh, it will, especially since Oswego is going to be really hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. Any players you want to watch for?
Mostly just Milberg, because I can't say it enough and give the kid enough props. Watching him play is very, very fun, because he's not necessarily the same as Piros, of like a small goalie that can go post to post and he's electric with a glove hand, but he's still a very good goalie, and some of his strengths he's very good with. You can't really beat him very many places. He's a very collected, balanced goalie that he only has that 1 or 2 weaknesses that a goalie 99% of the time will have.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for me, of course, we're going to say Daniel Calabufo, because he was such an awesome guest, and he's the only senior on this team. So you really want to see him, go out with some wins in the postseason. And I'm also going to say, look out for Matt McQuaid. He's got 15 goals this year. And it seems like whenever he scores a goal, it's a timely goal. So I would say definitely look out for him. But again, Jordy, what a weekend of hockey we got coming up here. This is so exciting. I'm just very disappointed that I'm on duty Saturday.
Oh, well.
In the fire station. So I'm going to be getting all this secondhand, but I'm sure you will be at the Adirondack Bank Center, as always, for the Pioneers game, correct?
Oh, I definitely will, with my towel in my head. I can't wait.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, you know what? You should have wore that on the show.
I should have. I'll wear it next time.
Because he does. He wears it. It's like off to the side, and it's the little things.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, every time I see him, I'm like, what's he worried? There's going to be like a leak in the roof here at the Adirondack Bank Center? What's going on here?
Well, now we've expanded. We have a pickle, and one of our guys dressed up as a llama last game.
Well, hey, there you go. Now we got a zoo going on there along with the herd.
Yep,
Perfect.
we sure do.
So, and I know you're going to be live tweeting. Where can we find that?
You can find that. Normally, I'll do a little bit pregame on my normal Twitter, Jordy Fighter, but then the live tweets go straight over to the High Scorer Report podcast Twitter, normally because that's just easier to do it from there. I may be working on 1 or 2 new graphics for that. Hopefully, they come out nice. Yes.
That's on, okay. Whereabouts on YouTube?
Jordy Fighter on YouTube with normally the High Scorer, or yes, the High Scorer podcast will be under that.
Okay. Hey, and you know what? You made it, pal. No technical difficulties.
Yep. No,
those who are waiting to take a drink are very disappointed. So go ahead and take one now. It's all good. And thank you for coming on and chatting about the upcoming weekend. And of course, we know you'll be back. So.
Yep, I'll be back with the towel. Don't worry.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next time on the Central New York Hockey Report podcast.